Airline Manager 4 AN225. These are the results of testing that I did with the AN225 cargo aircraft, which I believe is made by Antonov. And my final test was I tested 8 of them on 4 different routes, half doing heavy load, half doing large load, which is shown down here. The aircraft flying heavy load brought in more income for every pound of fuel, which is the same as saying income per distance. Some of them may have had, for example, you see the 2.63 and the 2.64. This route over here is probably just a longer route, but the heavy loads still won. This is the aircraft. I believe that these were all base configuration, but it really doesn't matter. If you change the modification, it reduces the amount of fuel or the amount of quotas. But when I checked, the amount of fuel for each route was the same. And if I didn't change the fuel modification, then I definitely didn't change the quota modification. Quotas are not dependent. They're not the same per flight. Fuel is doing the same route. Quotas is dependent on how much cargo you're bringing, and it should be more quotas for different types of cargo. And I saw some numbers that were a little confusing. For example, you've got the 949, the 948, the 981, and the 104, which should have been for the least amount of cargo. And you see the large, the 317, the 314, the 320, and the 319. The least amount of cargo did have the lowest amount of quotas. But bringing in more cargo brought in substantially more quotas. I was a little bit surprised. It wasn't double the amount of cargo, it was, slightly more. So the number of quotas you're paying for this is dependent on how much cargo you're shipping, and it seems to scale dramatically as you get into the bigger numbers. These are the routes that I flew, and when you fly 2 planes on the same route, every plane departed at the same time. When you fly 2 on the same route, if they're identical, the numbers, if they're configured identical, the numbers for the load will not be identical, which means the quotas also won't be. And I have tested this with passengers. It's absolutely true. The game has some randomness. Depart multiple planes on the same route at the same time, the amount of load or passengers will not be identical. Okay, so I showed clearly with these aircraft that heavy load won with the aircraft that carries the most amount of cargo. I did do some testing with a split load. Here's an example, just to show that the 8.39 was such a good number that I was able to find on a route. I believe 8.41 might have been the highest, but I don't remember. The greatest amount of income was 2.9 million, and I don't know if this was the greatest of all time because I only checked so many. You only spend so much time hunting through numbers and planning routes and looking for the perfect route, etc. Over here, you see that the income, this is the average for about 10 flights, the 2.5 million, the 2.6 million. So they never got up, or maybe they did get up to the 2.9 million. They didn't average at 2.9 million. And you can see that this was also split. There are situations where splitting the values will bring in more income. It does happen. Notice it says 531,000 pounds. This is only 475,000 pounds. So this value is from a longer route, whatever YPC, UDYZ. I could have tested a longer route, but I didn't. I was more concerned with identical routes. So this was my initial testing on the AN224. I'm going to make some comments about this aircraft. It does have the highest capacity. The range is low. It's only 4,000 which means that if you only have a few of them, you're going to waste money on marketing. And the reason why is because if all your planes have the exact same amount of time, flight time, you only have to buy the minimum marketing. But with this one, it's going to land before your other aircraft land, so like maybe 30% into the way. And then it's going to either sit there because you want to get your marketing value, or you're going to have to fly it without getting your marketing reputation benefit. So buying these and the Concorde, I believe was another aircraft, hurts you in terms of income because of marketing. It makes marketing not efficient for this aircraft unless you buy every cargo ship. Every cargo ship you buy is the AN225. You should get the full benefit from marketing. But your passenger planes would also have to be about 4,000 kilometers range. I know it's complicated to understand, but you'll understand when you depart them and you log in and all your planes are in the air and those are on the ground because they've already returned from their flight, and you don't want to buy the full marketing. You got to buy marketing for the whole fleet. There's short-range aircraft, which means you're going to have problems depleting demand. You're going to run out of demand quickly. I didn't look that hard, but I did not find a route where you could depart this 4 times a day and always run at 100%. A lot of times you're going to have to split the load because the airports don't have enough demand, and you'll only be able to do 1 round trip per day. So you're going to have problems with demand, and for those reasons, this aircraft is not a big money maker. It actually does make a decent amount of money, but you have so many limitations, you're going to have problems flying this aircraft. There are ways to get around it. For example, you could fly it, create a different route, which will have a different demand, and keep on flying different routes every day. That's one way that you could fix it. I will see if I can figure out how to fix this in the video, because I'll probably revisit this. So this aircraft, yeah, it was great to buy it, fun to play, but it doesn't bring in the money because it has limitations because of the way the game is played. Limitations with the marketing, limitations with demand. And you have to log in 3 or 4 times a day to keep this plane in the air. With your other aircraft, you might only have to log in twice a day. So that's one of the issues you're going to have. I haven't tested it with the cost index yet. You know, I got some further testing. I sold all of them. I'm going to rebuy them. And I'll do a future video about this aircraft. Okay, so that's everything I have to say. If you have any questions or comments, you can go to books.cc and look for AN25 in the Airline Manager 4 section, and you can post your questions below. I'll answer everything. And you'll also be able to come here and look for additional information. I also am the owner of cheapbooks.com, which is a website for searching for books and textbooks, and it's actually quite fast. It looks for everything pretty quick. And this is an example of what it looks like when you search by book covers. This part, I'm still adding more books to it. Okay, so that is it. That is all for now. If you have any questions or comments, post below.